What if the best thing you planted this July wasn't for this summer, but for an endless fall and winter harvest? Most container gardeners treat midsummer as the finish line, but experienced growers do the exact opposite. They use the warm July soil to establish resilient perennial vegetables. By planting right now, you fuel explosive root growth, setting these permanent crops up to provide abundant, fresh harvests exactly when the autumn air turns cold. And the best part? You plant them once and they return on their own, year after year. Today, we are counting down 15 perennial vegetables to plant in July that will provide fall and winter harvests and keep producing year after year. Stick around until the very end, because I will share a crucial expert hack to protect your new plants from the brutal midsummer sun and reveal our #1 crop, a heavy hitter that produces premium food for over 2 decades. If you are ready to build a garden that feeds you all winter long, let's dive in at number 15. We have Garden Sorrel. If you've never grown sorrel before, you're missing one of the most dependable perennial greens for container gardening. While lettuce and spinach often struggle through the heat of midsummer, sorrel is quietly building a strong root system that will support harvests for years. That's exactly why July is such a smart time to plant it. The soil is warm enough to encourage rapid root growth, but by the time cooler fall temperatures arrive, the plant is already well established and ready to produce a fresh flush of tender leaves. For container growing, a 5-gallon fabric grow bag is one of the best choices. Fabric pots provide excellent drainage while allowing air to reach the roots, helping prevent overheating during the hottest weeks of summer. If you prefer plastic containers, choose one that's at least 10 inches deep with several drainage holes. Sorrel doesn't need an enormous pot, but it does appreciate consistent moisture and rich, fertile soil with plenty of organic matter. Garden sorrel grows reliably as a perennial in USDA zones 4 through 9. In colder regions, the foliage naturally dies back during winter, while the crown remains alive beneath the soil. As soon as spring temperatures begin rising, fresh leaves emerge from the same root system without any replanting. In warmer climates, the plant may continue producing through much of winter, especially if it receives some afternoon shade during the hottest part of the year. One of the biggest advantages of sorrel is how you harvest it. Rather than pulling the whole plant, simply snip the outer leaves whenever they're 6 to 8 inches long, leaving the center untouched. New leaves quickly replace the ones you've harvested, creating a continuous cycle of fresh growth. Frequent harvesting actually encourages the plant to stay productive and delays flowering, giving you an even longer season of tender greens. The flavor is unlike almost any other leafy vegetable. Young leaves have a bright, lemony tang that instantly livens up salads, while mature leaves become wonderfully smooth when cooked into soups, creamy sauces, omelets, pasta dishes, or fish recipes. Just a handful can completely change the flavor of a meal. By planting garden sorrel this July, you're not just growing a crop for this fall. You're establishing a perennial vegetable that will quietly return every spring, becoming larger, stronger, and even more productive with every passing year. At number 14, we have garlic chives. If you're looking for one perennial vegetable that delivers fresh harvests with almost no effort, garlic chives deserve a place near the top of your list. Unlike ordinary chives, which have a mild onion flavor, garlic chives produce flat, dark green leaves with a gentle garlic taste that's perfect for stir-fries, soups, scrambled eggs, dumplings, and fresh salads. Once established, they return from the same root system year after year, becoming larger and more productive with every growing season. July is actually one of the best times to plant garlic chives in containers. The warm soil encourages fast root development, allowing the plant to establish itself before the cooler temperatures of fall arrive. Rather than rushing to flower, young plants spend the rest of summer building a strong underground clump. By early fall, you'll often be able to harvest your first leaves, and next spring the plant will come back even stronger. For the best results, grow garlic chives in a 3 to 5 gallon container. Both plastic pots and fabric grow bags work well, but if you garden in a hot climate, a fabric grow bag helps keep the roots cooler during summer. Fill the container with fertile, well-drained potting mix, place it in full sun or light afternoon shade, and keep the soil evenly moist without allowing it to become waterlogged. Garlic chives grow as reliable perennials in USDA zones 3 through 9. In colder regions, the leaves naturally die back after frost, but the underground crown survives winter and sends up fresh shoots every spring. In warmer climates, you may continue harvesting well into fall and even through parts of winter. Harvesting is simple. Once the leaves reach about 8 inches tall, trim them with scissors, leaving 1 to 2 inches above the soil. Fresh leaves quickly replace the old ones, allowing repeated harvests throughout the season. By late summer, the plant also produces clusters of beautiful white flowers that attract bees and butterflies, and the flowers themselves are edible. It's one of those rare container vegetables that offers reliable harvests, beautiful blooms, and years of productivity from a single planting. At number 13, we have salad burnet. If you've never grown salad burnet, you're missing one of the easiest perennial greens for container gardening. Although it's often overlooked in modern vegetable gardens, this old-fashioned herb has been cultivated for centuries because of its refreshing cucumber-like flavor and its ability to come back year after year. Unlike many leafy greens that fade after a single season, salad burnet forms a long-lived clump that becomes fuller and more productive with age. July is an excellent time to plant salad burnet because the warm soil helps it establish a strong root system before the cooler weather of fall arrives. Rather than rushing through its life cycle, the plant quietly invests its energy underground. By early fall, you'll have a steady supply of fresh leaves, and next spring it will return with even more vigorous growth. For container growing, a 5-gallon plastic pot or fabric grow bag works perfectly. Salad burnet has a compact root system, so it doesn't need a large container. If you live in a hot climate, a fabric grow bag helps keep the roots cooler during summer, while a plastic pot retains moisture slightly better in drier regions. Fill the container with well-drained, compost-rich potting mix. Place it in full sun or partial shade, and water whenever the top inch of soil feels dry. Salad burnet grows as a dependable perennial in USD, A zones 4 through 8. In colder climates, the foliage may die back during winter, but the crown survives beneath the soil and quickly sends up fresh leaves when spring arrives. In milder regions, you may even continue harvesting throughout much of the winter. Harvesting is simple. Snip the young outer leaves regularly while leaving the center of the plant untouched. Frequent harvesting encourages fresh, tender growth and keeps the plant compact. The delicate leaves have a mild cucumber flavor with subtle, nutty notes, making them perfect for salads, herb butter, yogurt sauces, sandwiches, and even refreshing summer drinks. While it may not be the flashiest vegetable on this list, salad Burnet is one of the most dependable. Plant it once this July, and you'll enjoy fresh, flavorful leaves from the same container for many years with very little maintenance. At number 12, we have sea kale. If you've never heard of sea kale, you're not alone. This remarkable perennial vegetable has been grown in European coastal gardens for centuries, yet it's still one of the best-kept secrets among modern gardeners. Unlike ordinary kale, sea kale isn't grown just for its leaves. Its young shoots, tender leaves, flower buds, and even roots are all edible, making it one of the most versatile perennial vegetables you can grow. July is an excellent time to plant sea kale in a container because the warm soil encourages strong root establishment before cooler fall weather arrives. While you probably won't harvest heavily during the first season, you're given the plant several months to develop the deep root system that will support increasingly larger harvests year after year. Like asparagus, sea kale rewards patience. It becomes more productive as it matures. Because it develops a substantial root system, sea kale performs best in a 15 to 20 gallon plastic container. A plastic pot is preferred over a fabric grow bag because it retains moisture more consistently while providing enough long-term stability for this deep-rooted perennial. Fill the container with rich, well-drained potting mix, place it in full sun, and water regularly during the establishment period. Sea kale grows as a dependable perennial in USDA zones 4 through 8, making it an excellent choice for gardeners across much of the northern United States. During winter, the foliage naturally dies back, but the crown remains alive beneath the soil. As temperatures warm in spring, vigorous new shoots emerge from the same plant without any replanting. One of the reasons gardeners love sea kale is that nearly every stage of growth is edible. The young spring shoots are often compared to asparagus, the broad, blue-green leaves can be cooked like spinach or kale, and the unopened flower buds are frequently prepared like broccoli. Instead of producing a single harvest, one mature plant provides multiple edible crops throughout the growing season. Sea kale may require a little patience in the beginning, but once it's established, it becomes one of the most rewarding long-term investments you can make in a container garden, delivering delicious harvests for many years from a single planting. At number 11, we have garden mint. Most gardeners know mint as the herb that seems impossible to stop growing. In fact, many people avoid planting it directly in the ground because it spreads so aggressively. That's exactly why it's perfect for containers. A pot keeps the roots under control while allowing you to enjoy years of continuous harvests from a single plant. July is one of the best times to plant mint because the warm soil encourages rapid root development. Within a few weeks, the plant begins producing fresh stems, and by fall, you'll already have plenty of leaves to harvest. More importantly, the strong root system established during late summer allows mint to return with incredible vigor the following spring. For the best long-term results, grow mint in a 5-gallon plastic pot. While fabric grow bags work well, plastic containers help retain moisture longer, and mint thrives in consistently moist soil. Place the pot where it receives morning sun and afternoon shade in hotter regions or full sun in cooler climates. Regular watering and occasional feeding with compost are usually all it needs to stay healthy. Garden mint grows as a reliable perennial in USDA zones 3 through 9. In northern states, the foliage dies back after the first hard frost, but the underground runners survive winter and quickly send up fresh shoots in spring. In warmer climates, the plant may continue producing leaves through much of the year. Harvesting is incredibly simple. Instead of removing individual leaves, cut entire stems just above a pair of leaves. This encourages the plant to branch out, creating an even bushier container with more harvests. Fresh mint is perfect for iced tea, mojitos, fruit salads, yogurt sauces, desserts, and countless Mediterranean and Middle Eastern dishes. By the second or third year, a single container often produces more mint than most families can use. Garden mint proves that one small July planting can become a dependable source of fresh herbs for years, with very little effort once the roots are established. From the lemony tang of sorrel to the unstoppable harvests of garden mint, we have seen how incredibly rewarding it is to grow perennial herbs and greens. But as we officially break into our top 10, we are shifting our focus to the true architectural heavyweights of the container garden. These are the plants that grow into massive, long-living food factories. Before we dive into a remarkable kale variety that never dies, I would love to hear from you. Have you ever tried growing a perennial vegetable or herb in your own containers? Let me know down in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you're enjoying this sustainable long-term approach to gardening, please hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Now, let's look at the heavy hitters, starting at number 10. We have Daubenton's kale. If you've ever been disappointed when your kale suddenly flowers and dies after one season, Daubenton's kale will completely change your expectations. Unlike ordinary kale, this remarkable variety is a true perennial. Instead of completing its life cycle after a single year, it continues producing tender leaves season after season, becoming larger and more productive as it matures. Planting Daubenton's kale in July gives it a valuable head start. The warm soil encourages rapid root growth before cooler fall weather arrives, allowing the plant to establish itself without the stress of midsummer heat. By autumn, you'll often be harvesting your first leaves, while the real reward comes over the following years as the plant develops into a productive, leafy shrub. Because this kale eventually grows much larger than annual varieties, it needs a 15-gallon plastic container or larger. Plastic pots provide excellent long-term stability for the expanding root system and help maintain more consistent moisture. Fill the container with fertile, well-drained soil, place it in full sun and water regularly during dry periods. Daubenton's kale performs best as a perennial in USDA zones 6 through 9. In colder regions, gardeners often protect the container during winter by moving it to a sheltered location or insulating the pot. Once established, however, the plant is surprisingly resilient and quickly resumes growth each spring. The harvesting method is what makes this kale so productive. Rather than cutting down the entire plant, simply pick the mature outer leaves while leaving the growing tips untouched. New leaves continue emerging from the center, allowing continuous harvests throughout much of the year. The mild, tender leaves are excellent in salads when young and equally delicious in soups, stir-fries, pasta dishes, and smoothies. Unlike annual kale that asks you to start over every season, Daubenton's kale rewards patience. Each year, it becomes fuller, stronger, and capable of producing even more nutritious greens, making it one of the finest long-term vegetables for any serious container gardener. At number 9, we have Babington's Leek. If you're looking for a vegetable that practically takes care of itself year after year, Babington's Leek deserves a place in your container garden. Unlike ordinary leeks, which are grown as annuals, this rare perennial leek keeps returning from the same underground bulbs, producing fresh leaves, tender stems, and even tiny bulbils that can be planted to create new plants. Once established, it becomes more productive with every passing season. July is an ideal time to plant Babington's Leek because the warm soil encourages rapid root growth before the arrival of cooler fall temperatures. Rather than putting all its energy into top growth, the plant spends the rest of summer building a strong underground clump. By fall, you'll begin seeing fresh green shoots, and the following spring those established roots will produce a much larger harvest than a newly planted leek ever could. For container growing, choose a 7 to 10 gallon plastic pot. Plastic containers hold moisture more consistently than fabric grow bags, which is beneficial because leeks prefer evenly moist soil. Fill the pot with rich, compost-amended potting mix. Place it in full sun and water regularly to keep the soil from drying out completely. Babington's Leek grows as a dependable perennial in USDA zones 5 through 9. In colder climates, the foliage may die back after hard frosts, but the underground bulbs survive winter and send up vigorous new shoots every spring. As the clump matures, it gradually expands, giving you more stems to harvest each year. The flavor is mild, sweet, and incredibly versatile. Young leaves can be chopped like chives, while the thick white stems are perfect for soups, casseroles, pasta dishes, and roasted vegetables. As an added bonus, mature plants produce clusters of small bulbils that replace traditional flowers. Those bulbils can simply be planted into another container, giving you free plants without buying more seed. Babington's Leek is the kind of vegetable that quietly improves with age. Plant it once this July, and you'll be harvesting from the same container for many seasons to come. At number 8, we have Caucasian spinach, also known as Hablitzia. If regular spinach frustrates you because it bolts the moment warm weather arrives, Caucasian spinach may be the solution you've been looking for. This remarkable perennial climbing green has been grown for centuries in the mountains between Europe and Asia, where it survives harsh winters before returning every spring with vigorous new growth. Once established, it produces tender spinach-like leaves year after year without needing to be replanted. July is an excellent time to establish this plant because the warm soil encourages deep root development, while the cooler temperatures of fall reduce transplant stress. During its first year, Caucasian spinach focuses mainly on building its root system. The real reward comes the following spring, when vigorous climbing vines emerge and quickly cover a trellis with edible foliage. Because it's a climbing vegetable, grow it in a 10-gallon plastic pot with a sturdy trellis, obelisk, or bamboo support. Plastic containers provide excellent long-term stability, while the generous soil volume gives the roots plenty of room to mature. Position the container in full sun to partial shade and keep the soil evenly moist during the growing season. Caucasian spinach performs beautifully as a perennial in USDA zones 3 through 9, making it one of the hardiest leafy vegetables on this list. In fact, it often begins growing much earlier than annual spinach, providing fresh greens long before many other vegetables have even started. Harvest by picking the young leaves and tender shoot tips throughout the season. The mild flavor is very similar to spinach but remains tender much longer, making it excellent for salads, stir-fries, omelets, soups, and pasta dishes. Regular harvesting encourages even more branching, creating a fuller plant with greater yields. For gardeners with limited space, Caucasian spinach offers the best of both worlds. It grows upward instead of outward, produces nutritious greens for years, and turns a single container into a vertical harvest that becomes more impressive with every season. At number 7, we have Good King Henry. Before spinach became a household favorite, Good King Henry was one of Europe's most dependable perennial vegetables. Although it's largely forgotten today, experienced gardeners still treasure it because almost every part of the plant is edible. The young shoots can be cooked like asparagus, the tender leaves are used like spinach, and the flower buds are often prepared much like broccoli. Few perennial vegetables offer this much variety from a single plant. July is an excellent time to establish Good King Henry in a container. The warm soil encourages strong root development before the cooler temperatures of fall arrive, allowing the plant to build a healthy crown during its first season. While harvests are usually light in the first year, that patience pays off as the plant becomes larger and increasingly productive with each passing spring. Because Good King Henry develops a deep, long-lived root system, it's happiest in a 10 to 15-gallon plastic container. A plastic pot helps maintain consistent soil moisture throughout summer, while providing the stability this perennial needs for years of growth. Fill the container with rich, well-drained potting mix, position it in full sun or light afternoon shade, and keep the soil evenly moist, especially during hot weather. Good King Henry performs as a hardy perennial in USDA zones 3 through 9, making it suitable for gardeners across most of the United States. In colder regions, the foliage naturally dies back during winter, but the crown survives underground and sends up vigorous new growth every spring without any replanting. Harvesting depends on the season. In early spring, the tender shoots are considered a delicacy and are often compared to asparagus. As the season progresses, you can regularly harvest the young leaves for salads, soups, stir-fries, and pasta dishes. Later in the year, the unopened flower buds provide yet another edible crop. By harvesting moderately and allowing the plant to remain healthy, you'll enjoy larger harvests every year. Good King Henry may not be as famous as kale or spinach, but once established, it quietly rewards gardeners with multiple harvests from a single container for many years. At number 6, we have Turkish Rocket. If you love arugula but hate replanting it every season, Turkish Rocket might become your new favorite perennial vegetable. Although it's related to arugula, this hardy perennial is much more vigorous and returns from the same roots year after year. Better yet, nearly every part of the plant is edible, from the young leaves to the flower buds and even the developing seed pods. July is one of the best times to plant Turkish Rocket because the warm soil allows the roots to establish quickly before fall. Instead of rushing through its life cycle like annual arugula, Turkish Rocket uses the remainder of the growing season to build a powerful underground crown. That means stronger growth this fall and an even bigger flush of leaves the following spring. For container growing, choose a 10-gallon plastic pot with excellent drainage. Turkish Rocket develops a sturdy taproot, so it appreciates a deeper container than most leafy greens. Place it in full sun, use fertile, well-drained potting mix, and water regularly during its establishment period. Once mature, it's surprisingly drought-tolerant compared to many salad greens. Turkish Rocket grows as a dependable perennial in USDA zones 4 through 8. In colder climates, the foliage dies back during winter, but the crown remains alive beneath the soil and quickly sends up fresh shoots when temperatures begin warming. Gardeners in mild regions often enjoy harvests over a much longer season. The young leaves have a pleasant peppery flavor similar to arugula, but with a slightly milder finish. They're excellent in salads, sandwiches, and pesto. As the plant matures, the unopened flower buds can be steamed or sautéed like broccoli, adding an entirely different harvest from the same container. Regular harvesting encourages fresh growth while helping the plant stay compact and productive. Turkish Rocket is proof that a single perennial can provide multiple edible crops throughout the year. Plant it this July, and you'll enjoy a container that becomes more productive with every passing season. We have explored some incredibly resilient greens that quietly bounce back every spring. But as we officially enter our top 5, we are crossing into a completely different class of container gardening. These final 5 plants are the absolute elite. We are talking about massive, architectural heavyweights that don't just survive, but become permanent towering fixtures on your patio. These are the long-term investments that will literally feed you for the next decade. If you thought container vegetables had to stay small, prepare to have your perspective completely changed. Let's look at the giants, starting at number 5. We have tree collards. If you want a leafy green that produces almost non-stop without needing to be replanted every year, tree collards are hard to beat. Unlike ordinary collard greens, which are typically grown as annuals, tree collards develop thick, woody stems and continue producing fresh leaves for many years. In mild climates, a single plant can grow over 6 feet tall and become one of the most productive vegetables in your entire container garden. July is an excellent time to plant tree collards because the warm weather allows the roots to establish quickly before the cooler temperatures of fall arrive. Instead of racing to produce flowers, the plant focuses on building a strong trunk and root system. By fall, you'll already be harvesting young leaves, and each following year the plant becomes larger, bushier, and capable of producing even heavier harvests. Because tree collards eventually become quite large, choose a 20-gallon plastic container. A sturdy plastic pot provides the stability needed to support the plant's height while holding enough soil to sustain its vigorous root system. Use rich, well-drained potting mix, place the container in full sun, and water deeply whenever the top inch of soil begins to dry out. Adding compost once or twice a year will keep the plant producing at its best. Tree collards perform as true perennials in USDA zones 8 through 10. Gardeners in cooler regions can still grow them successfully by moving containers into a protected location during severe freezes or using frost protection on cold nights. Harvesting is incredibly simple. Pick the mature outer leaves while leaving the growing tip untouched. The plant continuously produces new foliage from the top, allowing you to harvest week after week without slowing its growth. The tender leaves can be used exactly like regular collards, steamed, sautéed, added to soups, or blended into smoothies. and many gardeners find the flavor slightly sweeter than annual varieties. If you live in a mild climate, tree collards are one of the closest things to a plant once, harvest forever vegetable. Given enough space and basic care, they can supply fresh greens from the same container for many years. At number 4, we have Chaya, also known as tree spinach. Don't let the name fool you. Chaya isn't actually related to spinach. This fast-growing perennial shrub has earned the nickname tree spinach because of its incredible productivity and highly nutritious leaves. In warm climates, few vegetables can match the amount of edible foliage one Chaya plant produces each year. July is the perfect time to establish Chaya because it absolutely loves heat. While many leafy vegetables struggle during the hottest weeks of summer, Chaya thrives. Planting it in July allows the roots to establish rapidly, giving the shrub plenty of time to produce vigorous new growth before cooler weather arrives. Once established, it becomes even more productive with each passing season. For container gardening, choose a 20 to 25 gallon plastic container. Chaya develops into a large shrub, so it needs plenty of root space and a stable pot that won't tip over in strong winds. Fill the container with fertile, well-drained potting mix, place it in full sun, and water regularly during the first growing season. Once mature, Chaya becomes surprisingly drought-tolerant. Chaya grows as a perennial in USDA zones 9 through 11. In frost-free regions, it remains productive throughout the year. Gardeners in cooler climates can still grow it in containers and move it indoors or into a greenhouse before freezing temperatures arrive. One important thing to remember is that Chaya leaves should always be cooked before eating. Cooking removes naturally occurring compounds that make the raw leaves unsuitable for consumption. Once cooked, however, the leaves have a mild flavor similar to spinach and are excellent in soups, stews, stir-fries, omelets, and rice dishes. Harvesting is easy. Simply cut the young shoot tips, and the plant quickly responds by producing multiple new branches, leading to even greater yields. For gardeners living in warm climates, Chaya is one of the most productive perennial vegetables available. A single plant can provide an astonishing amount of nutritious greens year after year, making it a true powerhouse for any long-term container garden. At number 3, we have Globe Artichoke. If you're looking for a perennial vegetable that is just as beautiful as it is productive, Globe Artichoke deserves a place in your container garden. With its massive silver-green leaves and striking purple flower buds, it looks more like an ornamental plant than a vegetable. But once established, it rewards gardeners with delicious edible buds year after year, making it one of the best long-term investments you can grow. July is a surprisingly good time to plant globe artichokes. The warm soil encourages rapid root development, giving the crown several months to establish before winter dormancy. While you may not harvest large buds during the first season, you're laying the foundation for much bigger harvests in the years ahead. Like asparagus globe, artichokes become more productive as the plant matures. Because they develop an extensive root system, grow them in a 20 to 25 gallon plastic container. A large plastic pot provides excellent stability while holding enough soil to support years of growth. Use rich, well-drained potting mix. Place the container in full sun and water deeply whenever the soil begins to dry. Feeding with compost or balanced fertilizer in spring will encourage larger buds. Globe artichokes grow as dependable perennials in USDA zones 7 through 10. Gardeners in colder climates can still enjoy them by protecting the container during winter or moving it into a sheltered location during severe freezes. Harvest the flower buds while they're still tightly closed. Steam them, grill them, or roast them for their rich, nutty flavor. If you leave one unharvested, it opens into an incredible purple flower that attracts bees and butterflies, adding even more beauty to your garden. Plant one this July, and you'll be rewarded with a container that becomes more impressive and more productive with every passing season. At number 2, we have rhubarb. Rhubarb has been a favorite in American gardens for generations, and for good reason. Once established, this classic perennial can produce thick, flavorful stalks every spring for decades. Many gardeners think it only belongs in the ground, but with the right container, rhubarb performs surprisingly well on patios, decks, and even large balconies. July is an excellent time to plant rhubarb because the warm soil allows the crown to establish strong roots before winter arrives. Instead of focusing on harvesting during the first season, you're helping the plant store energy for explosive growth the following spring. It's one of those vegetables that truly rewards patience. For long-term success, choose a 20 to 25-gallon plastic container. Rhubarb develops a large crown and deep roots, so a spacious container is essential. Plastic pots retain moisture better than fabric, grow bags, and provide better insulation during winter. Fill the pot with fertile, compost-rich soil, position it in full sun, and keep the soil consistently moist throughout the growing season. Rhubarb performs best as a perennial in USDA zones 3 through 8, making it ideal for much of the northern United States. In warmer climates, it can be more challenging because the plant requires winter chilling to perform well year after year. Harvest only the thick, colorful stalks by gently twisting and pulling them from the crown. Never eat the leaves, as they contain high levels of oxalic acid and are considered toxic. The tart stalks are perfect for pies, jams, crisps, sauces, muffins, and countless homemade desserts. One healthy rhubarb plant can remain productive for 10, 20, or even 30 years with proper care. That's why generations of gardeners consider it one of the greatest perennial vegetables ever grown. Plant it once, take care of it, and it will continue rewarding you with dependable spring harvests for decades. At number 1, we have asparagus. If there is one perennial vegetable that perfectly represents the phrase plant once and harvest for years, it's asparagus. No other edible plant has earned a stronger reputation for rewarding patience. While many vegetables ask you to start over every season, a healthy asparagus crown can continue producing tender spears for 20 years or more. That's why it easily claims the number 1 spot on this list. July is actually a great time to establish asparagus in containers. Although you won't be harvesting immediately, the warm summer soil allows the roots to expand rapidly before cooler fall temperatures arrive. During its first season, the plant focuses entirely on building a powerful underground crown. That crown is the secret to decades of future harvests. The stronger it becomes now, the more productive it will be every spring. Because asparagus develops an extensive root system, It needs a 20 to 25 gallon plastic container that's at least 18 to 24 inches deep. Plastic containers are preferred because they provide excellent long-term stability and help protect the crown from drying out. Fill the container with rich, well-drained potting mix, place it in full sun, and keep the soil consistently moist during the establishment period. Adding compost each spring helps maintain vigorous growth for years to come. Asparagus performs best in USDA zones 3 through 8, although gardeners in warmer regions can also grow it successfully by selecting heat-tolerant varieties. During winter, the fern-like foliage naturally turns yellow and dies back. Don't worry, that's completely normal. Simply cut the dead stems to the ground, and the same crown will send up fresh spears when spring arrives. One important rule separates successful asparagus growers from impatient beginners. Don't harvest heavily during the first year. Allowing the plant to establish a strong crown will reward you with far larger harvests in the future. Once mature, you can enjoy weeks of fresh spears every spring, and each season the harvest becomes even more impressive. Few vegetables offer such an incredible long-term return. Plant asparagus this July, give it the time it deserves, and you'll create a container harvest that can feed you for decades. Before we wrap up, I want to share one crucial piece of expert advice for successfully planting perennials in the middle of summer. Throughout this countdown, we've talked about how the warm July soil is your greatest asset because it fuels explosive root growth. But there's a catch. If you live in a notoriously hot region, placing a newly planted container directly into the blazing midsummer sun can instantly trigger severe heat stress. The plastic pots we recommended are fantastic for retaining moisture, but in direct 90-degree heat, they can heat up quickly and literally bake the fragile new roots. The ultimate survival hack for July planting is what experienced gardeners call microclimate manipulation. For the first 2 weeks after planting, do not put your new containers in full sun. Instead, tuck them into the gentle afternoon shade of your patio, or hide them right behind your mature, towering summer crops like tomatoes or corn. This simple adjustment gives you the best of both worlds. The roots rapidly expand in the warm potting soil, while the foliage is perfectly protected from the roasting UV rays. Once the plant shows signs of vigorous new growth and the brutal August heat begins to break, you can safely slide the container out into its permanent, full sun position for the rest of the year. So there you have it. 15 incredible perennial vegetables you can plant this July to create a container garden that delivers endless fall and winter harvests and keeps producing year after year. Instead of starting from scratch every spring, you'll be investing in plants that grow stronger, larger, and more productive with every season. Whether you have a small apartment balcony, a sunny patio, or a backyard filled with containers, even adding just 2 or 3 of these perennial vegetables can completely change the way you garden. You'll spend less time replanting, save money on seeds and seedlings, and enjoy dependable harvests for years to come. Which of these perennial vegetables surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear which ones you're planning to grow this July. And if you enjoyed this countdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next container gardening guide. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy gardening.